The sun had just dipped below the horizon when Daniel Matthews walked through Oakwood's quiet streets, a small neighborhood that had been his home for only 2 days. Dressed casually in a blue shirt and jeans, Daniel looked like any other person out for an evening stroll, but there was something significant about him that no one knew yet. Come Monday, Daniel would be introduced as Oakwood's new chief of police. Around the corner, 2 officers sat in their patrol car, keeping an eye on the streets. Officer Blake Baldwin and Officer Rick Carter weren't known for their kindness. They had a habit of throwing their weight around, especially with people they thought didn't belong in Oakwood. As Daniel passed, Baldwin and Carter exchanged a look before stepping out to block his path. "Evening, sir," Baldwin said with a smirk. Daniel nodded politely. "Good evening, officers." "You live around here?" Carter asked, crossing his arms. "Yes, just moved in. Nice town," Daniel replied. Baldwin sneered, sizing him up. "You sure you belong in this part of town?" Daniel remained calm. "Yes, officer, I'm sure." But the officers weren't letting it go. "Show us some ID," Carter demanded, his hand held out. Daniel sighed, recognizing the situation. He handed over his ID without hesitation. Baldwin snatched it, then noticed a small stack of cash in Daniel's wallet. "What's this?" he asked, fanning out the bills with mock innocence. "Money," Daniel replied coolly. Carter chuckled. "Where'd you get this, Mr. New Neighbor?" Daniel's tone grew firmer. "I suggest you return that." Baldwin scoffed. "Look, you might get away with this kind of attitude somewhere else, but here in Oakwood, we call the shots." Daniel's patience was running thin, but he stayed calm. "I've asked nicely. Give me my money back and let me continue my walk." The officers only laughed and stuffed the money into their pockets. But just then, a car pulled up, a familiar one. Chief Adamson, the former head of the precinct, was out on a routine patrol. His face hardened when he saw the scene. "Officers Baldwin, Carter, what's going on here?" Adamson asked, his voice sharp. The 2 officers froze. We were just checking things out, sir," Baldwin stammered. Adamson's eyes moved to Daniel. "Daniel Matthews, it's a pleasure to see you. Oakwood's lucky to have you as our new chief." The officers' faces drained of color as they realized their mistake. Baldwin quickly pulled the crumpled bills from his pocket and handed them back, stammering an apology. "I'm sorry, Chief," he muttered. Daniel accepted the money without a word. "I hope this serves as a lesson," he said calmly. "Respect is part of the job, and it's your job to show it. Not just to me, but to everyone." Adamson crossed his arms. "There will be consequences for this. Tomorrow, you'll both report to my office at 9 a.m. sharp. We'll talk about what it means to wear this badge." The officers nodded silently, their heads hanging low. They knew they were in for a reckoning. The next morning, Baldwin and Carter entered the precinct with a sense of dread. At 9 a.m. sharp, they sat across from Adamson and Daniel, who looked at them with unwavering calm. Adamson didn't waste time. "Officers Baldwin and Carter, your actions were completely unacceptable," Adamson said, his voice firm. "You failed in your duty. You disrespected not just our new chief, but the oath you swore to protect and serve." Baldwin tried to explain. "We didn't know who he was, Chief." "Does that matter?" Adamson interrupted. "Your actions were wrong, no matter who he was. It's your job to serve and protect, not to harass." Daniel spoke next. "I'm here to build something better with all of you, but if we can't trust each other, how can we expect to earn the trust of the people we serve?" Carter looked down, his voice barely audible. "We messed up. There's no excuse." Daniel nodded. "That's right. And now you'll take responsibility for it." Adamson's tone softened, but it was no less firm. "Effective immediately, you're both suspended without pay for a month. You'll attend sensitivity and conduct training. When you return, I expect you to remember what it means to wear this uniform. Fail again, and you won't be given another chance." The officers nodded in shame, their punishment clear. As they left, Daniel called out, I believe in second chances. Use this time to reflect on what it means to wear that badge with honor. A month later, Baldwin and Carter returned to work, humbled and respectful. Their actions had cost them dearly, but the lessons they learned stayed with them. Under Daniel's leadership, Oakwood's precinct began to transform. Integrity became the standard, and respect wasn't just expected, it was earned. The town slowly began to see a change. Daniel's fair and just leadership restored the trust that had been broken. The officers who had once abused their power now understood what it meant to truly serve. Justice wasn't about punishment, it was about change. And in Oakwood, change had finally arrived.